Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another SHOUTCraft Clan Wars right here on MLG TV. My name is TotalBiscuit, and for the first time this season, actually joined by a co-caster, which I know is going to be a relief to many of your ears instead of getting far too much of my blithering. Jeff in Control Robinson, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, friend.
It's an absolute pleasure as always. Alright, we've got a bit of a corker today, certainly, between these two teams. It's going to be the Aussies from Clan Who, which is a loose affiliation of degenerates, so I'm told.
It would only be that way with Australians, I imagine.
Absolutely. No other question about it. You know, as a British man, I know what their tendencies are, their wily ways. And they're going to be facing off against a team formerly known as Startale, now known as SBENU, I believe.
I heard that hesitation in your voice, and I was like, okay.
I don't know if I screwed that up. I don't think I did. I think I got it right.
You're a braver man than me, because it's the pro gamer name that you have to stay away from. Those are the ones that it gets really bad. If you mispronounce their names, you're actually an idiot. If you mispronounce their teams, you're a hipster idiot. You're like, oh, well, you don't know how to say the team name. You know, it's like. But is it an abbreviation, or is it actually SBENU, or whatever? It's
just SBENU, I believe. SBENU, I think, is how you pronounce it. I was watching an ad, very typical Korean ad with the whole little cartoony graphic novel style of text and all sorts of things like that. K-pop stars dancing everywhere. Apparently they sell shoes, from what I can tell. That's my understanding.
Hey, good for them. A lifestyle brand sponsor. I mean,
it's good.
More power to them.
Absolutely. They sponsor a lot of stuff as well, actually. There's a League of Legends league they do. They also, I believe, they're part sponsor of GSL, if I recall correctly now. So
sure.
They're throwing the money around. Can't really complain. This is the lineup. We've got it on screen right now. There's been a slight change to the running order. We're going to actually be starting with a 2v2 today. And Hack is going to be replaced by Alive in both his matches because he has a family engagement. So we're going to be swapping that around. So that means Demilove versus Daisy will be match 5. And Igus and Betrayus taking on Pet and Alive on Neo Skywalker will be our first match of the day in the 2v2. And I just realized I just give you lobby host in Control. I'm going to have to be right back because I need to swap my interface over. I realize the game heart doesn't work with 2v2 and will break. So I'm going to have to reload the game. But
well, you're a wiser man than all of us, then, because we would have started up, had it break, and then been like, oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I almost forgot that actually happened that way, so there we go. It's going to be Neo Skywalker. This is only the second time we've actually seen this map. The last time we saw Neo Skywalker played, it was Roots taking on Axiom, and Axiom was on the receiving end of a massive death drop, which resulted in the collapsing of rock towers on top of the gold base, which destroyed all the minerals. It was pretty sick.
Just off that very brief description, I'm excited because, you know, if this was like the mainstay for all competitions, it would drive me nuts and I would hate it.
Absolutely.
But it's not. It's a one-off, and some of these maps, for I guess some of you might be new tuning in, are absolutely incredible. John, I'm a huge fan of the Cannon map right now. I know I'm getting a little bit off topic.
Oh, yeah.
Yes! My God, that was awesome.
Yeah, it's had some really good games, surprisingly enough. People thought, it's a bit gimmicky, but no, we've been getting some amazing games. If you can throw me an invite to the game, then we can kick it right off here on Skywalker. We haven't got to play too much of Neo Skywalker yet. We played a lot of Deck 16 because everyone loves the acid mechanics. You know, we saw that in New Polaris Rhapsody back in it was the New York Battlegrounds for Red Bull, if I recall correctly. They put on a great show with that one, but Neo Skywalker is a really nice-looking map, and I think we're about ready to kick it off. So, Mr. In Control, if you want to punch the button, then we'll get started. There we go.
I'm quite literally in control of the game.
Nah!
I hate that joke, actually. I should kill myself. I'm going to commit Sudoku for it.
It's probably best that you don't. I'm going to need you for co-casting. All right, folks, we'll be back after the map intro and terrible jokes. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, regardless of the fact that I turned my interface off, it turned itself back on again, so all that faff was for nothing. Lovely. Never mind, I apologize for the broken interface down the bottom. That's just the way that it's going to have to be. And let me introduce to you our first team here in the Clan Wars between Root Igers in the Style and Baby Blue Terran trunks there to the east, and his teammate, sharing the base, of course, here, to the south position in the yellow trunks playing Zerg. It is Patreus versus their opponents. And I'm going to have to try and not mess this up. In fact, you can try it. You try that.
Oh, damn it.
Ah, you got to give it a shot. Give it a shot.
All right, I'll try. Okay.
Go on.
Their opponents, the Koreans.
Of course.
Also a bit of a hodgepodge in this day and age, I would tell you. I've seen a lot of these players on other teams as well. But now unified under the newly branded SBENU, as TotalBiscuit tells me, and I could be... If I am butchering
SBENU.
that... God
SBENU,
dang it.
I think.
Okay, well...
I think it's SBENU.
Something of that. Anyways, the red Zerg will be Pet, and the blue Terran is Alive. Which is awesome.
Indeed.
I haven't seen him play in a while, actually.
Yeah. Well, SBENU's been picking up a bunch of new players, and that's absolutely fantastic. They recently brought Bomber back into the fold, and apparently have managed to maintain his Red Bull sponsorship. Now, here's something, before we go on with that, here's something really cool. We've actually seen this before. You see the north here?
Yes.
This can happen.
Sharing a gas. And, John, I hate to be... Well, I'm going to get my pessimism out real quick. A lot of times in cool clan wars like this, Koreans just simply don't prepare. Because they're like, what, we're playing against Australians? Don't they have to, like, battle kangaroos on their way to work or something like that? We'll just beat them. But this shows that they have experimented with the map. They've played it at least, and they've been exposed to it, and they're adapting. And this is early gas for Alive. He gets to save a little bit of minerals, and it's good for him. Build time, too.
Yeah, it does. It really does save him a little bit, and it just means that he's going to be able to get his gas a lot faster. It gets his factory just a few seconds earlier. Means something like an earlier Banshee. Of course, it can mean earlier Marine Hellion. There's all sorts of little things that they can come up with here, so I'm intrigued to see what he's going to give a shot. But as you were saying, a lot of the Korean teams so far in the season didn't demonstrate that they prepared, and honestly, as a result, they got wrecked. MVP got destroyed. Prime got destroyed. Startale, or SBENU as they're now called, however, they have actually done really well so far. They've put on a great performance, and I expect the same from them again.
And look at it. I mean, they're the team that seems to be fairly prepared now. Hunting an Overlord in the middle of the map as well. That's going to go down. Patreus won't see much there. A bit of a mistake, I have to add. He actually has a second Overlord approaching here as well. Has to be careful. Losing one does happen, but losing two would be really bad. Quick note as well.
Out of that one.
Yeah, if it can go over the rocks.
Yeah.
I like the spotting other Overlord, though. The Pet's going to come in here.
Oh, that's
True
nice.
teamwork being displayed. And he actually hid the Zerglings as well from the vision, I do believe. Oh, God, it's going to be close.
Got it.
No,
He got it. That's absolutely lovely. Really nice play there. Like you said, it's great teamwork. Just something small like that, having your teammate instantly react with an Overlord, say, hey, I can give you vision. And, I mean, that's 2 Overlords down already. That's pretty bad for Patreus. He was badly supply blocked. He might even lose a third one here.
Oh my god, he might. And actually, look at this. They're still hiding the Zerglings and Banelings behind this.
I love it.
And all I'm looking at for defenses here is, I mean, he's actually making drones as Patreus. He has a single queen. And if they don't get their crap together here, they might just die in the first 5 minutes of this match.
Well, Patreus can't even build units. He's been supply blocked again, so that's going to be a bit of a huge problem. Right now, Pet is actually going... I think it seems like they're trying to go around a different way, by the looks of it. He's backing off all of his forces, which is very odd. Like, it seemed like a good opportunity to attack. But as you can see, he's looping around... No, actually, I don't know what he's doing. I'm going to stop pretending I know what he's doing.
There is debris in the way of entry into Patreus' base. Was that brought down because of the cooling tower, or was that always there?
That wasn't always there. Patreus knocked it down himself. So
there you go.
I imagine that's got something to do with it. So they're looking to try and get through the debris on the other side, rather than knocking on the door. I mean, that debris is 2,000 health and 3 armor, so it's pretty much Ling-proof, right? But with the amount of Lings and Hellions that are actually working on this debris to the side here, there's going to be a nasty surprise for the Root guys. And they've played this out pretty well so far, even after losing the Overlords. Fact of the matter is, they understand the map, they collapse the debris, and they're playing defensively.
It's interesting. This map, at least at the first glance here, doesn't scream early game antics. If you drop those towers... I mean, Pet is sitting on a bunch of Lings, which is fine and good. Like you said, they'll eventually get these rocks down. But look, in the meantime, Iagaz is working up to... I mean, right now it's just Mines and Marines, but he's going to have Medivacs presumably fairly soon. We're going to have Roaches out, which are going to be more than a match for Ling Baneling. And with just Hellions to support, the potency of this forest is looking a lot less scary, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, if they were able to get through there before the rocks were collapsed, that could have been disastrous, but it looks like the root player decided to play hyper-defensive, and it was the right call. It really was, and there's a unit going down here as well, and Alive suddenly realizes, oh yeah, we're actually going to have a bit of trouble getting through this.
Yeah, they will, and they're going to have to back away. And I'll tell you, the nice thing about this strategy from SBENU, or my god.
Yeah, it is SBENU's actually right, I think, yeah.
Okay.
It is SBENU.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I totally knew that. Absolutely. So SBENU.
Yeah, I forgot immediately after hearing it. It's like, I'm useless.
It's not gonna. Yeah, there's no traction there. It's such a weird word.
It's gonna take a while for us to learn that one. SBENU. Yeah, it is SBENU.
Hopefully, yeah, we'll see. But behind this, he did take the gold base, which is a nice way to jump back up economically. Like, if you are gonna lose some traction early on in the game because you went for an early game strategy that's not really panning out, one of the best ways to kind of make up that difference is to get a gold base, and this map offers that. So again, I like the synergy of strategies from our our SBENU team, because if they didn't knock down those cooling towers, they're dead. They win, and without them being able to, you know, reap that reward fairly early on, they're making it up with the gold base.
Now, Banshee moves in here for Alive. Is going to be able to do a little bit of damage here as well. Full map control in the hands of SBENU at this time. I'm never going to get used to saying that. Now, there is a risk. Taking this gold base, there is a risk, and this Banshee could potentially be a part of that. The cooling towers can be collapsed on top of the rich mineral fields, which completely destroys them. They only have 500 HP each, so you have to be hyper-aware of airplay and drops.
I really like that. That's awesome. And 500 health will just go away in no time, especially as the game goes on.
Absolutely.
And I think that's why it was a Viking opening from Iagaz. Like, I saw all these Marines, and I was like, okay, why doesn't he have medevacs? That's of course, the classic synergy there that makes Marines 100,000 times better. But with early game Vikings, he says no to that Banshee strategy that you were talking about, and that's probably why Alive opened up that way as well.
I imagine you are absolutely correct in that assumption. You know, knocking down that can be a disaster. It basically killed Axiom when they played 2v2 on this map. When Marsa Marauder dropped that cooling tower and destroyed the gold base, the economic deficit became massive within a heartbeat.
Yeah.
So, Patreus is now going to march across the map with Igus in support with siege tanks. This is a powerful army against what Alive and Pet actually have. I think they're going to be reliant on the Banshees here to really do some work, and if they're not careful, they're going to get caught out of position.
Well, as you say that, here we go. The Roaches get on top of this. The first Banshee goes down. He's just too busy harassing inside the main. He's doing good damage there, John, but I mean, if they can't hold off this attack, they might just flat out lose.
Sporecrawler just killed the Banshee as well. This is really not good at all. Alive has some tanks. They're in a suboptimal position, and they're not really targeting all that well. More Roaches move in. We've got Banshee support, but it looks like Alive's tanks are going to push this back. And Pet, with a surge of Roaches, is able to knock down the last few tanks there from Igas.
And Pet had nowhere near as many Roaches, but he was able to get inside those tanks, and with the cover of those Alive's tanks, he was able to have just the right amount of stuff to deal with that. And I'll tell you what, the situation, well, I was going to say it's actually really bad for our Australian team, but looking back at this, no, not really. The Banshee died.
It's not too bad.
They're on equal bases. They have similar compositions, which is also kind of cool. I mean, it's not like this map is being played 1,000,000 times a day on the ladder, but yet both teams are kind of like, okay, ZT and Roach Marine Tank seems to be the composition we're going for.
Yeah, this is the second time this map has ever been played competitively, so considering this is only the second time ever, they're doing pretty damn well for themselves. Iger's also with some really aggressive Viking play here, picking off a couple of Overlords. I like that. This is good to be proactive in that way.
Yeah. And that really helps as well. I mean, the earlier in the game, like we talked about earlier, that's when it's really bad. But later, it just helps to kind of deny information and, of course, make them think a little bit twice about where they're out on the map. I do want to note, though, and I'm going to be that guy, Pet has 0 creep spread, whereas Patreus is doing a fairly good job of spreading it forward. Kind of in that realm of information we were talking about. If you're killing Overlords, great. But the other way to deny information, too, is to kill creep tumors. Now, if Pet's not going to make any creep tumors, then you don't have to deny him, but he's doing himself a disservice, I would say.
Nice little pickup there for the Viking, killing itself yet another drone, although he did lose a Viking on the ground to the Roaches, which is, I wouldn't say inexcusable, but certainly unfortunate, nonetheless. Yeah. We've got sprouting economies, really, from both of these guys. You don't usually see a 2v2 go on for this long, so we're entering unmarked dangerous territory here, I think.
Yeah, and it's, you know, I hope your computer is ready for this. I know yours is. I'm sitting here twiddling my thumbs a little. Yeah, it's gonna get
StarCraft 2 is so badly optimized. You know that. It doesn't matter what you run it on. You could run it on Big Blue, that supercomputer. It would still be rubbish.
It's like, this is too hard. I mean, 800 supplies. it could go that route. We can't see the supply. At least I can, unless you click on the
Beautiful
army
maneuver
address.
by Igers with the booster drop directly underneath the Cloak Banshee. Picks it off just as it tries to fly out of range. I'm impressed so far with the Aussies, I gotta say. You know, it looks like they brought their A-game here.
They are. They're going toe-to-toe with him, and that's kind of been a theme as well, which is really cool about your Clan Wars series. We've seen that. You know, a little bit of it is preparation, but also foreigners are starting to kind of... They're picking it up a little bit, and the Aussies are well represented. Iagaz has done well in WCS. Betrayus just won his WCS match, so they're a good team.
Betrayus moving 4 Overlords across the map here. I don't think they're drop capable, so it's a bit weird they're doing that, but a big push coming in here from SBENU. I can't do it!
You're a braver man than me. He's going to stem forward. His Iagaz is going to try to make a stop here. He's got his tanks. It's a twofold attack. The Hydra's in the back doing a great job for Betrayus. And it looks like they do have enough. The just sheer number of medevacs means that these Marines are staying around annoyingly too long.
Oh,
and
yeah.
keep in mind, those medevacs can help the Roaches and Hydras heal up as well.
They absolutely can. Great positioning on the tanks there from Igers for the right flank as well. They were very difficult to touch. And some very proactive defense there from his partner. Betrayus being the meat shield that was needed. Those tanks are really doing the job. But unfortunately, it's the same setup on the other side. And Betrayus and Igers are sent packing as they run right into a wall of tanks from their opponent.
It's really only Alive that's down in supply. Everybody else is hovering around the 130 or so mark. I want to see how the Australians have been winning the fights, and their army composition is a little bit better with those Hydras and now with those Vipers, but can they keep up with the harass? We see Alive delivering out a couple of medevacs, and if he can do some economic harm behind this and their attack gets stopped by tanks, it could spell disaster for the Australians.
Absolutely, and here we go. Igers now pushing up through the... I suppose this would actually be a lair area. Now, this is actually the main. It's a weird design. It doesn't look like it's the main, but it is. And now we've got Igers deploying tanks as well. He's picking off reinforcements. Nice little engagement there for Betrayus, just trying to split his opponent's army. In the meantime, Alive with a pretty heavy drop down to the right-hand side, but that gets deflected. Another drop from Alive, this time far less defense. It looks like the Hive area here is going to get wiped out by a squadron of Marines, but a base goes down on the left-hand side as well as Betrayus and Igers just bulldoze it.
It gets obliterated, but Alive does move over into position to, again, use that wall of tanks to kind of say, none shall pass. You can't really go up that ramp against Roaches and tanks. That said, though, they are perilously close to the cliff, but it looks like the Korean team's going to get aggressive here. They're going down.
Oh, Blinding Cloud, Blinding Cloud.
Yeah, Blinding Cloud pushes them forward into the grabbing arms of these Roaches and Hydras and the tanks, and it looks like the Australians are trading out better here again.
Big moves there. That Viper was absolutely crucial. Those tanks would have provided huge amounts of fire support. They were taken out for most of that fight, and if those tanks had been in play, this would have been completely different. It looks like the Koreans hold for now, but only just. They took a lot more damage. In the meantime, though, Alive is still heavily active with these drops, doing as much economic damage as possible.
That's what I'm saying, TotalBiscuit. I'm really interested to see how that kind of continues. Like, every big fight so far, I've been really impressed with Iagaz and Betrayus. They seem to be coming out on top. But look around the map. I mean, as these big fights happen, they do stop, and they did just kill one base. Meanwhile, the harass has done so much work in the backfield.
Nice little pickup there, but Igers is able to get on top of it. But there is a 3 medevac drop heading towards this base. Thing is, it's well defended. I can't see this really doing anything. As long as Igers sieges these tanks, and that's exactly what it's going to do. Alive is about to walk into a world of hurt if he continues this engagement.
Well, I mean, those Marines stemmed into a concave of medevac Marines. That was bad, but now they're in range of the tanks, and that's where their journey ends, as it would be.
Oh, he's boosting, trying to get out of the way, but Igers is trying to track him down here as well. The rest of the map looking pretty clean at this point. Economic situation looking better for the Australians significantly at this point. Despite all the harass, it looks like they're doing a heck of a lot better than you might expect. Lovely pickoffs there for Alive, taking out for a couple of medevacs, but he's going to lose everything else.
Yeah, everything. And I'll tell you, I mean, yeah, the harass is good, but they're behind economically, as you pointed out, and while they did some decent harass there, they just got done losing a base, and they're behind in economy anyway. So again, this is the game for Iagaz and Betrayus to really take it home, and you can see that. Look at that swarm moving across the map.
That's huge.
They both, it's 160 and 180. I'm not going to do quick math, but I think it's about 1 billion supply. And they should be able to crush whatever they come up against.
Sounds about right. Pet's actually saying they're both sitting on about 130 supply each are the Koreans. They're heavily outnumbered here. If Igers gets a good engagement here, especially in combination... I mean, God, how unfair is it to have both tanks and Vipers? That's just absolutely disgusting.
It wasn't intended to happen.
It was not. This was a cruel experiment. What hath science wrought at this point? And this is a terrible engagement here for Alive. He gets all of his Marines and Marauders choked. Lovely Blinding Clouds. And the Pet's reinforcements are coming in far too late. They're going to get obliterated. Look at the tanks.
Yeah. I mean, they're all bunched up. The tanks weren't even participating in that fight for the longest time. Now that they are, IGAZ will back up.
Oh
the
my
TotalBiscuit,
God.
I'm getting shivers. Vipers were not meant to help out Terrans, and we're seeing what happens when they do.
That is absolutely unfair. Alive down to 80 supply, Pet on 96, and Igers on 170. I mean, he could take them himself at this point.
Yeah.
Alive is trying to get his tanks into position, but he's heavily outnumbered here.
Yeah, I really like, too, that Petraeus, you know, like, he's like, okay, IGAZ, you got that. I don't need to help you out. So his Roaches and Hydras are out hunting peripheral bases, and all of a sudden, Petraeus with his Mind Out main, his gold barely hanging on, after he loses this next base, he's just going to be flat out of money, and Alive's just dropping where he can, but he's down 100 supply from both the guys. I don't know. I think their days are numbered.
Yeah, I mean, Petraeus is just crashing through here, and there's nowhere near enough defense here by Pet. It looks like we're going to be seeing games soon, and taking the first 2v2 here are the team of Igers and Petraeus, who, frankly, have displayed that ability in the previous season as well, and there it is, GG. The Root Boys bring one home here for the Aussies.
And I'm happy to see it. Like, yeah, there's, you know, we talked about the early game gimmicks. Yes, the cooling tower strategy did put a stop on the timing attack that was coming out from SBENU's team. But after that, it became, I mean, and like we said, with the golden base, it's not like they were 25,000 supply behind and just dead in the water, but being Koreans, they drawed it out. It was a fairly equal game. I did like seeing IGAZ and Petraeus keep up and even surpass Alive and Pet. Pet, I felt like did a lot, and Alive's harass strategy was pretty okay, but the sheer macro of IGAZ and the army composition of Petraeus was more than a match for Team SBENU, and that was really cool to see. You don't often see foreigners outplaying Koreans, but we definitely saw it there.
In 2v2, I really think that foreigners do have the edge, and Igers and Petraeus are known as one of the best 2v2 teams around. I've seen them compete in tournaments, they know what they're doing. They competed as a team in Season 1 of Clan Wars, and I think they may have been undefeated in the 2v2 bracket. So, they're looking good, and Alive was a last-minute replacement for Hack, so bear in mind that Hack and Pet are the usual 2v2 team, so SBENU was a little bit... I'd say at a bit of a disadvantage, honestly, because they didn't quite have the prep time because of Hack having to pull out at the last moment there. But we shouldn't take anything away from the Aussies. They pulled off a really great win there and put one on the board for the Australian Clan Who, as they call themselves. All right, next up on the list, we're going back to the regular. I say regular. We're going to be diving onto Crazy Clash, one of the... I think it's a fan favorite map, honestly. It's going to be a ZVZ on this map as well. It's going to be Pig versus Pet. And we're going to be having a look at that one right after the break. You're watching SHOUTCraft Clan Wars Season 2, brought to you by MLG.TV. Remember to click the follow button if you'd like to be alerted of all future Clan Wars. And if you happen to have a smart device, grab the MLG.TV app for free. You'll be notified when new Clan Wars are about to come online. Very, very handy. You don't have to pay attention to Twitter. And let's be honest, who the hell likes Twitter? Nobody. Everyone
Nobody
hates
likes it.
Yeah, Twitter is disgusting. We'll be right back after the break, folks. Crazy Clash will be the next map. Currently, Clan Who leads 1-0. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Crazy Clash, the silliest map in the map pool, perhaps. It's my pleasure to bring you XL5's Pig, representing Clan Who in the Aussies. He's in the blue trunks playing Zerg to the west, versus his opponent, also playing Zerg to the north. It is... I've forgotten it again. I've bloody forgotten it.
SBENU.
SBENU. Yes, SBENU's Pet in the red trunks. Oh, God. That name. It's impossible.
It's not good. It's not as cool as Startale, which also didn't make a whole lot of sense, but at least you could, you know, say it.
Yes. SBENU is tricky. You know, it actually sounds quite a lot like a town I used to live in. I used to live in a town called Spennymoor, and it was short for that was Spenny. So it's actually very, very close to that. That isn't helping with the confusion. It's actually making it worse.
That's better, because, like, to me it sounds kind of like Spam or like some kind of weird alternate meat you would put in a sandwich, like SBENU. Or a cleaning fluid. I don't know. It just... Shoes does not come up when I hear SBENU.
SBENU brand bleach. Sounds about right. It's like you clean your floors with it. You know, clean your toilet with it.
Yeah, I think you would.
Probably would.
Well, it's good to see again. Both these players know that this map is covered in missile turrets, and they're actually named Slayer of Bad Rallied Overlords. So the creator of this map knew exactly what would happen should these guys do it. I'm actually looking at Pet's Overlord right now, and he is either the smart. He's he's either the smartest man.
Look at the pathing on this thing. He knows exactly what the range is. This guy has practiced this map. I hope so.
My God.
I think he does. I think he absolutely does. Pet is well practiced here. Look at that.
He's just showing off. That
Fancy.
one too? Okay. Well,
That's impressive.
Color me
impressed. Oh,
impressed.
hang on a minute. I think he's rallying. I think that final rally point's actually too close to the missile turret, but we may see.
What do we know though compared to him? I mean,
he's practiced the map. I haven't. It's that simple. He's adjusted it. See, there we go. He knows what he's doing.
All right, I'm a Pet fan now.
Yeah, I mean, SBENU, Startale, whatever. The Koreans have been practicing this one particularly. God damn it! Why?
I'm ready for that
SBENU
flag.
Of all things.
Yeah, I already devolved into calling them Koreans and Australians, and there's going to be someone that's like, "Hey, we're more than that," you know. And I'm
absolutely,
ready for it.
yeah. I wouldn't want to insult the brand new sponsors of Startale, SBENU. That would be terrible. But it's a really hard word. It is. It's difficult. I need to watch some more of those ads with the K-pop people.
It's a little bit different, I feel. Yeah, exactly. And it's for research, for science, of course. So
well, naturally, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to be honest. I'm not a big fan of K-pop. I generally mute it. I think that it has more visual appeal than it does oral appeal. Just going to be frank with that.
I don't think that... I have to believe that most people do not disagree with you. I think it's kind of a controversy, like... Or, no, a conspiracy. That's the word I'm looking for. I see all these people watching the videos, and I'm like, yeah, I get it, watching the videos. But I don't see them listening to it very often on, like, a headset or anything like that. But anyways, I digress. We have a gasless opening from Pet, which, again, I am curious to see where this goes, because all logic for me screams that gas openings in ZVZ are pretty powerful. Earlier speedlings, access to +1 range attack if you are going to go Roach Heavy, which, especially in Heart of the Swarm, is still dominant right now.
Yep.
Ravagers are on the horizon for these guys. They're coming, but they're not there yet.
Assuming they even get to us at the final release before being nerfed into the ground. I mean, they're already getting pounded as it is. They got their DPS cut in half, if I recall correctly, in the proposed patch. It's ridiculous. Well, Pet's playing a defensive style, which I kind of like on this map, because you might think, well, this is actually a really easy rush map. It's not. If you look in the center of the map, you'll notice that these bridges are open. The only way to close them is to destroy something which is, let's be honest, out of range of most Zerg. Like, you need to get muters in order to hit that. I think you could probably hit it with a spine crawler, but that's obviously highly impractical. So I think Pet reckons he can play defensively with a wall off and lots of queens and a spine, and he should be fine against Ling Bane. So I guess we're about to find out if he's right.
And he sees it coming. He has fantastic Overlord positioning, and as you said, the queens are going to occupy that ramp. He's actually trying to wall off for that spine crawler, but he actually has a hole in the wall. He misplays that just a little bit. One queen gets exposed. Second one's under attack as well. And they're dying rapidly. Now, you can notice the wall in at the natural, very powerful, but that leaves the main exposed.
Ouch. That was a blunder there by Pet, which is uncharacteristic considering. Nice micro here to try and avoid most of his drones dying, but that's a double surround on the queens. I mean, one's going to die immediately. He's pulled drones off the line here, and he may be able to repulse this, but there's a second wave coming. Now, this is pretty brutal right here.
I don't know what his plan was with those queens. They went up into the main, and here comes Banelings as well. This should be lights out. The main is gone. But I just don't know what those queens were doing. They came in, and a lot of times the way the queens can hold off lings is with position. We saw that at the natural, and he didn't try to find any position inside the main and just gave him up. And I think he gave up the game in doing it.
Yeah, I mean, from what I saw, it looked like he botched it. Like, it looked like he had the wall off on both sides, but he botched it on the main. And once that surround was in, that was it. And he's got the roaches out, but they're a little bit too little too late. Like, my idea is he was trying to hold on till roaches came out, and then he would have been safe, but he is about to get absolutely wrecked. In come a couple of Banelings. They don't quite reach it. Pet's surprisingly still in the game with 16 drones. He's about to lose a few more, but he's not quite dead. Like, he lost 23 drones, 25 to 15 right now. All his queens are gone, though. So, like, I really don't see him recovering from this, especially with a hatch down.
And TotalBiscuit, you hit the nail on the head. Like, there's still going to be some more lings stringing in here, but you can see behind us 10 drones coming out for Pig, who's already ahead in Harvesters. But the real big deal is no queens, like you said, and even down 1 hatchery. That is 50% potential production if he had all his queens, which he doesn't have.
That's an absolute disaster, and it really was a disaster for Pet as well. Like, his strat looked good, and he fumbled it, basically. He fumbled on the ramp. That's the only explanation I've got for that. He let through lings which shouldn't have happened, and as a result, this entire build falls to pieces. Pig's now building 3 spines because he knows the only chance for Pet now is to do damage with a counter-attack, so he builds 3 spines. And Pet's going to stay in the game, but I think he's only doing that because he doesn't know how far behind he really is. He's got to know. I mean, losing your main this early in the game, that's a disaster for anybody, and he knows he's got no queens.
Well, he knows that much is really bad. He has to. And I'll tell you, this map does him a disservice because, as you said, a lot of times Zergs can make up the difference by walking those 9 roaches across the map and doing things like forcing out more lings, forcing out spine crawlers, which really, you know, Pig did as a precautionary.
He cancelled them as well. Like, he figured out that his... Yeah, I mean, he's super smart. He figured out that he wasn't really in any trouble, and now Pig's producing roaches of his own, and he's going to quickly outnumber Pet, and that's going to be lights out for him.
The map is so damn big that these roaches couldn't get there fast enough to cause the economic harm they needed to. So, I mean, here they come now, because they weren't sure if more lings were coming out, because he needed to keep them back, because all he has is 1 spine crawler. He just got his first freaking queen out, for Pete's sakes.
Oh, man.
And otherwise, he's like, okay, well, now I push across, because that's what I have to do to try to get back in this game. But unfortunately for him, it's too late. Like you said, there's just too many roaches.
It's not going to do it. There's really no way back from this position in a mirror match. It's just not going to happen. But I don't see it happening. Yeah, this base might get cancelled here. That's assuming Pet can even get to it, which, considering the rock position, he actually can't. So he can't even hit the gold hatchery that's coming up here for Pig, which is greedy but understandable. Pet's just backing off now. He realizes he has no shot. So really, what's he going to do? He's going to have to make the most phenomenal, impossible hold in the universe to come back into this game and make several amazing trades. And unfortunately, he has no tech advantage to do that off the back of.
Exactly. And to build off that point, that is how Zerg get back in the game. A, they have to make the hold, and B, there are tech options that even from a very far behind position can get you back into it, namely Swarm Host, which just recently took a bit of a nerf. So, of course, that nerf is more impactful in ZVT, ZVP. In ZVZ, they're still very strong. We've seen Stefano get way behind and then come back in a game in ZVZ just because of how invincible Swarm Host can be. But I say all that with the fattest butt ever, though. He just remade his main. He just took the gas there. So the idea of teching to Swarm Host from a hatch position that he's in right now, it's a dream. It's a pipe dream.
Oh, man. He doesn't even get the Overseer. That's just horrible. Like, that's insult to injury, frankly. Pig's going to get away with it, and he had no right to do that. He was able to pull it off. There's no attempt to, say, take a gold base here for Pet to try and catch up, and now the roaches are on the way. Doesn't matter how slow these damn roaches are. It's 38 versus 9.
No, and these are the old yellow bullet roaches. These are not here for any other purpose than to put the dog down. Like poor old Pet will just not get out of this game, and here comes 40-plus supply more of exactly what he has, only with better upgrades, faster, and just more. So he's dead.
Yeah. I don't care how good your transfuses are, you're not going to live through this. I don't care how good your concave is, you're not going to live through this. Pig came in like a wrecking ball. There's no roaches left. Instantly obliterated. It's not even close. It is not even close. The Aussies just barrel through Pet here, who is not having a good day. GG.
No. In the last 30 minutes, he's seen his team torn asunder. And a lot of that's been off the back of, more roaches, basically. So he's like... He's probably looking at his keyboard like, why is this not making as many as that guy? What is going on here?
I think someone as experienced as Pet knows exactly what happened there. And I think he realizes, look, his build was solid. And it looked like he planned it out perfectly. And then he botched the execution. It's that simple. If those walls had held the way they were supposed to hold, and it should have worked. 2 queens for the natural wall, 2 queens for the main wall. If he hadn't moved his queen out of the way, he would have held that, then he would have had roaches, and his counterattack would have been devastating.
Which is so weird, TotalBiscuit, because oftentimes those are the excuses we make for the foreigners against the Koreans, but here, it was literally just the execution of his build. If he holds that off, he's in a phenomenal position. He has more drones. I think he even had a queen or 2 more, which isn't the biggest of deals in ZVZ, but he was set up with that later gas to just go straight into 1-1 roaches as opposed to Ling Baneling with speed, which can be excess resources spent unless they score critical amounts of damage, which is exactly what Pig was able to do there. And again, tip of the hat to Pig, by the way,
Great
who
move.
played this really, really well. It's nice to see.
I have absolutely no complaints about anything Pig did in that game. His execution was pretty much flawless. He made no mistakes, whereas his opponent did, and it was only one mistake that was really needed for Pig to capitalize. So it's looking 2-0 now for the Aussies. Very, very strong start, and they need that because the big guns are on their way out here.
Yeah.
SBENU has absolutely no intention whatsoever of taking this lying down because they're bringing Curious out next to fight against Blisk in a Zerg versus Protoss on Neo Emerald Plaza. We're going to be getting to that one right after the break. Ladies and gentlemen, what a fantastic track. Goes by the name of Disorganized Fun. It is from the rather wonderful Ronald Jenkins. This is the current lineup so far. I'm joined, of course, by Mr. In Control of Evil Geniuses, who's been co-casting this. And what do you reckon to the Aussies' performance so far? Pretty impressive, right?
It's been crisp. It's been well executed. They've shown that they've been practicing. It's all that you would hope for in a match like this. A team that wants to win and is doing everything they can to do it.
Yeah, I couldn't put it any better myself, honestly. And it's a bit disappointing, actually, to see SBENU come out with their brand new name that's impossible to pronounce. And it's not that they're not bringing it, it's just that the other guys are bringing it more. It's that simple.
You know, yeah, and I gotta be honest, I think this is fairly expected for the early part of this season. I feel like they should have probably seen this coming, because this is your second iteration of the SHOUTCraft Clan League. But I feel like because this is such a long season, which is really nice, by the way, I feel like the Koreans are going to get their asses handed to them a few times. And then they're going to be like, wait a second. Okay, look. This is nice exposure. It's good money. These guys are actually giving us games. Let's go ahead and start practicing and caring about this. They're not going to make it like a pro league type of thing where there's, you know, montage shirtless scenes of them all sweating and playing for 45,000 hours trying to work up the knowledge and skill to win Neo Emerald Plaza, but they will practice it, because this is going to be embarrassing for them if they show up unprepared like this.
Yeah, certainly. And I personally don't think that SBENU is turning up unprepared per se. It's just, I mean, if we look at the last game, what we saw from Pet was a micro mistake that cost him the entire game, which at the pro level can absolutely happen. And then the game before that, you've got LotV who's replacing Hack at the last moment in 2v2 format, and the Koreans are not exactly known for their 2v2 prowess, since 2v2 is no longer part of Pro League, which I might add is a crying shame. I would love to see that come back.
I agree.
That'd be great.
Great part of the tradition. There's some amazing, some of the coolest matches you can think of in StarCraft back in Brood War were 2v2. But I agree with you on all points. I'm more saying things like, you know, you see Legend in the draw, and that's he's a great player. He's, I believe, GM on Korea, so he's you know, obviously very good. But is he on Curious's level? No. Can they play better players? Yes. Is that the one thing I'm looking at? No, absolutely not. It's a couple of things, and maybe I am reading too much into it, but I do feel like the point I'm trying to make is give it a month or so, a couple more matches. Teams like SBENU, they're going to be like, okay, no. That's not to happen
Enough
again.
of that.
We're going to kick some ass.
Bear in mind that SBENU put this lineup together before bringing on the players that they just brought on. And they now have Dongre Gu, they've got Bomber back. I mean, those two alone are powerhouses. That's really adding a critical part to the lineup that I think Startale has been missing for quite some time. Yeah. They also just picked up Myung Sik, who just dominated his GSL group in a big fashion.
Yeah. He does that. He is either like red hot on fire and kind of like the hipster pick for pro gamers, or he just kind of fades away into obscurity for a while, only to reemerge with a new crazy zealot heavy build.
Yeah, and he executes it so damn well. It's just frankly scary. So I expect the next Startale or SBENU game, it's this is going to take weeks of getting used to. The next SBENU game is probably going to be fielding a much stronger roster, although we do, of course, have to bear in mind that if they're focusing very much on Pro League, they may decide to bring some of their less busy players out, and That's perhaps one of the reasons why Legend is playing.
Yeah, and they have to balance all of that. But that's kind of what I like about the SHOUTCraft Clan League as well, though. These aren't the regular maps. So yes, they have gimmicks, which is really cool and fun for the fans, but it's also good for the pro gamers in the sense that if they show a build on the map that we just saw, no other pro gamer looks at that and says, okay, here's what he likes to do. I'll, use that information to then mastermind my victory against him in Pro League. Hell no. No way in hell. It's so different. It's so off the map that they can comfortably show their best in a completely different sphere, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah, that was pretty much the point, and the hope is that the Koreans actually do that, and it looks like they are to some degree, but SBENU has had a bit of a rough start here. So we're going to be kicking it off on Neo Emerald Plaza momentarily. Curious apparently needs to pedal a little bit faster on his loading time. There we go, lovely, just lovely. Fantastic, let's get the music on, let's get the scoreboard up, and it's probably the opposite of what a lot of people expected from the scoreboard up to this point, but let's see if Curious can turn it around and begin the comeback. Here we go, folks. The northeast position of Neo Emerald Plaza, one of our more standard maps in the map pool. We have Blisk. He is in the green, and he is playing Protoss to the northeast versus his opponent to the southwest position in the blue trunks playing Zerg. SBENU Curious.
I had the opportunity to actually play a couple of times on this map as I was...
Yeah, you played this, didn't you?
Yeah, I've faced a Zerg on here, and kind of my analysis in the practice of this map would be that I do find this to be a fairly Zerg-favored map. Not so much in the way that I'm screaming broken or imbalanced or anything like that, but if you look down at the natural, you can kind of see multiple entry points into that natural. That complicates things for the Protoss player in particular. Walling off and going Forge expansion or even Gateway expansion becomes difficult, and something that is worrisome because, Speedling all-ins is a concern. Roach all-ins is a concern. In a lot of ways, Protoss hold off those kind of attacks is with, wall barriers, force fields, photon cannons, that kind of stuff. Without that kind of access, it's not even so much that the Zerg will do those builds, it's that they can do those builds, and that really limits the options of the Protoss player. After that, the map is, as you said, very standard and fine, so really that's where the concerns start and pretty much end.
Speaking of concerns, that's a Forge and that's a Probe. That Probe is going to get spotted, though, by the Overlord. One has to wonder, Blisk has actually been known in the past in SHOUTCraft for his cheese, so he may attempt it here, but we got Gas first followed by Pool, so even if he does attempt a cannon rush, how effective do you think it's going to be?
Well, this is not the opening you're hoping for. You're hoping for a hatch first opening. He does drop the pylon preemptively. A lot of times Zergs will hide a drone over there and just drop the hatch, so that could be what he's doing, or you could have something far more cheesy. It could be actually, not to toot my own horn, but tapping into a strategy that I used to do back in MLG days. Ironically, we're on the MLG. Nope, he canceled it. Anyways, I'll stop there. But he was
in the days of 1976.
Bro, the good old times.
Oh, yes. When entertainment was bland and inoffensive.
He is going to go ahead and drop the Nexus, and of course, with the Forge coming before that, it is slightly delayed, but given the two openings, he still has the more economic heavy one. The problem is, he scouts gas. Now, as a Protoss player can tell you, he's like, oh god, is this speedling? Because if it is, I need to make my natural air tight. But what if it's fast Nidus? What if it's fast Roach? Then one cannon won't be enough. These are the concerns that are in his head, so he wants to keep a scout out on the map to get as much information as he possibly can.
Yep, and he's not going to be able to do that, unfortunately. There are Lings now chasing the Probe down. Probe should get back to its base before Metabolic Boost kicks in, so he should be fine, unless he decides to play Ring Around the Rosie a little bit too much, which he might. He's turning around, looks like he's trying to get one last scout out. He wants to get some information out of this damn thing before it dies, and it looks like I think the Queen's just going to kill it before he even gets to the ramp, and he does. There we go. Nice catch. There really wasn't a lot of information to find. It looks like a pretty standard opening. He took 100 gas for speed, started his speed, and then took off of gas. So nothing out of the ordinary here from our Zerg player.
And he's even chrono boosting out his Zealot, and a lot of people would look at that and say, well, that's weird. Why is he doing that? It's to get additional information. The 4 Lings wasn't enough. That doesn't tell him it's a Speedling all-in. He didn't see a Roach. He didn't see anything meaningful other than that the hatchery was still being built. He didn't even spot a third hatchery, which we saw just now went down. So another Probe goes out, and Blisk, is doing a very good job of getting what he can. And he sees speed turn on right there, and he now knows, okay, it's not Roaches, it's not Nidus Worm, it's a Speedling all-in, and guess what? His base is masterfully built. It's airtight, with that Zealot blocking the hole, and it's got 2 cannons. He's done a good job right now.
Blisk is not playing StarCraft 2, he's playing tower defense at this point. It's looking solid, right? There's no way through that. It really isn't. And Curious slightly overinvested in Zerglings. Not a huge amount. Like, it's not a game-ending thing, but he did invest in 8 Lings, which is more than you usually get at this stage, and he's going to get nothing out of them outside of those 2 probe kills which he got, which were not really that significant. So, Blisk is in a good spot, but we should, of course, bear in mind that Curious did start his 3rd, and just bought a round of drones as well. So, now I think the ball is in Blisk's court, really, to see what kind of tech he's going to take.
Right. And certainly he did get the 2 probes. Keep in mind, though, there is a second cannon, which is not ideal. So little things like that. And, of course, I wouldn't sit here and try and tell you, what? Curious is miles ahead economically. He certainly is not. But he knows that there's no pylons out on the map. At least he's relatively knows that. And he did force a little bit of extra cost from the green Protoss player Bliss. So it's not so bad. Behind this, though, and this is really nice for Curious, he didn't over invest in Lings, which is like the most horrific way to say that humanly possible. But he didn't say, okay, I'm going into this game with a Speedling opening, I'm going to make 30 Lings, and I'm going to hope to win. Nope. He made 8. If there was blood in the water, he probably would have made more. There was no blood in the water, so he backed off. And as such, he got a little bit of a worse opening, but not so bad.
Do you think that Blisk's... Oh, never mind. He's going to go shoot at them now. He obviously didn't notice. I was going to say, do you think that Blisk's decision to not shoot at these Zerglings was on purpose, but now he's just trying to kill them off, and he gets 2, and they're going to finally back away there. These rocks have been nibbled on a little bit, and they're going to be easily broken down, but now we see tech choices. Sentries aplenty here from Blisk, and he's going to follow it up with Twilight Council +1 ground weapons, whereas his opponent is grabbing a Lair, Evo Chamber, and Roach Warren.
And it's immediately scouted out by Curious. Just really well played by him. I mean, that Twilight Council does not want to be seen as a Protoss player again. It's not the end of the world. I doubt this was ever going to be a Dark Templar opening. I think it's more likely that it was going to be kind of a Sentry Stalker-heavy Blink opening, which is all the rage right now in the meta. But with that not being scouted, you're so much more comfortable, and the Zerg has to play guessing games, and then they're doing things like making Spore Crawlers and multiple Overseers and trying to defend against ghosts.
Oh my god, Blisk. He's doing it anyway.
Is it a Dark Shrine?
It's a Dark Shrine on the other side of the map.
Yeah.
Yep. You know, I thought Blisk was playing a little bit too regular. I was like, are you sure this is Blisk and not some imposter? It's like, there we go. Now he's building half his base outside of the base. That's what we like to see.
The spirit of Inca lives strong in him. What is the... You know, there's like so many stupid cliche sayings, like where's the best place to hide where they least expect it, like at the police department or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
He gets scouted. It's in a conspicuous place, and he's like, well, surely then that means I wouldn't go Dark Shrine. Have at thee! It is! I am going Dark Shrine. Like, that is actually hidden. And as it works out, look at this, TotalBiscuit. No Spore Crawlers. Overseer count right now is 0. So he actually has no detection. Of course, he has access to it, but how many DTs are going to show up and how much damage are going to do before he starts getting detection?
Well, you know what the cute thing about this is? He's still going Blink. So, even if there are Overseers, if he gets some Blink Stalkers out, he could kill the Overseers, and then he could just bring the Dark Templar in. That was nasty, though. He lost a bunch of sentries. That was not good at all. Lovely pickoff by Curious.
I love the pylon placement, though. Again, very nicely done by Blisk. He's very well prepared. That Warpin did cost him a little bit. He's actually stacking up on resource here as well. He's caught in a bit of a tough spot. You can see he wants to save gas because, of course, he wants to drop out probably a hefty number of DTs. It's just going to be 2. Which is not too heavy, and he's spending the rest of his money on Stalkers. A really nice timing attack here.
Yeah, we'll see if he can execute this. And it's going to come down to force field control. The backup pylon's going to go down pretty much immediately, and Blisk is playing with a very, very small army. But if he could somehow eliminate detection, of which there is coming in right now, but if he can get rid of that detection, the DTs will go to work.
I mean, they already are on some level. They've killed a few drones. They're getting him to not mine right now. Nice cleanup here from Curious, though, as he does chase him down with the first Overseer. And this is giving time to Blisk to go ahead and warp in Stalkers. And that small army you were talking about, it's still pretty small, but it's getting a little bit larger. Now, what I do like from Curious, though, is look at Curious. He's maintained a pretty hefty supply advantage, and he's still adding to it. He says, no, this game's simplified. You're a 2-base Protoss. I'm 3-base Zerg. I know this means I need to make stuff.
There's the burrow.
Nice.
Lovely move there by Curious. Like, oh, you just burned 7-8 force fields? Great. I'm just going to burrow and wait you out. I don't care. It's great.
And that upgrade right there is the 1 upgrade response to the entire timing attack of Blisk. Excuse me. He has no sentries or observers. He's making the robo right now, but he just knows that every single time he's about to kill something, it'll just burrow and cost the Zerg nothing. They heal faster underground, for God's sakes.
Yeah, I love the fact that this upgrade is being used more in the current meta these days. Well, I don't when I face it, but thankfully I don't play enough StarCraft for that to be a problem. But we're going to see even more of that in Legacy of the Void, considering it's much easier to get burrowed and tunneling roaches.
And they reward you more for it, too. I think they combine tunneling claws and... No, never mind. But it's just better. And here you see Curious now in a commanding position. He almost lost his hatchery as natural.
Yeah, big investment there by Blisk. He did get out with 2 of his DTs, so it's not a total loss. He mostly lost Zealots. But we've now got Hydras on the way. I think Curious actually sees these DTs. He's trying to block them off. Nice moves. Yeah. Oh, he did it! What a move there by Curious. Invisible units, he doesn't care.
He doesn't care. He's got speed on his side. Decent and okay creep spread coming out from him. It's just creeping up the middle. A Burrow Zergling reveals that Blyce is going to attempt to take a third base, and that's what Curious is waiting for. He's damn near maxed out. He's going to say no to that. He's just going to keep adding to this. You can see the Hydras are being added to the composition now as well. He knows that once he maxes out with any number of Hydras here against 2-base Protoss, he should have the much stronger army composition.
Absolutely, and that Mothership Core doesn't want to be anywhere near those Hydras when they knock on the door. There's even an Infestation Pit being added on here. Lots of upgrades, and everything is looking solid. He even found the Dark Templar Shrine, so that tech's going to be unavailable quite soon here for our Protoss player. And if anything can turn a game around, it's surprise DTs, but without a Dark Shrine, good luck. And this is going to be a transition through to Colossus on 2 bases after already investing a lot of gas into getting really not a lot done. So I'm a bit worried here for Blisk, I gotta say.
You know, it's tough because if for some reason Curious got super tunnel vision and just started making a million Hydras and didn't bother with things like Infestation Pit, which we already know he made, yeah, 3 or 4 Colossus and good force fields could actually win the game for Protoss. But because Curious is Curious, he's not going to leave him that option. And we're going to have a big engagement here, which is essentially a trade. Curious is maxed out, or close to it. We saw almost all the sentries die there, and basically everything that dies for Blysk is just... He can't really replace that.
It's not coming back anytime soon, is it? He's managed to get a couple of Immortals and now is fighting into a choke with potential Photon Overcharge, so I think he can hold this, but not without taking losses. Let's see just how good his Blink Micro is. The answer's not too bad, and these force fields do funnel out the majority of the units. He blinked forward, right? Why would he do that? Loses several Stalkers, blinks right into the Hydra Storm. That's not what you want.
That's what you get, TotalBiscuit, for paying the man a compliment. You're like, good Blink Micro, and the second you say it,
my
he's
mistake.
Like, I can't be having this.
I've learned my mistake. Never again will I compliment a Protoss player. No problem whatsoever, you son of a bitch.
Yeah, I think, honestly, a lot of people would agree with me. It basically was your fault. I think that's what we can arrive at.
I accept responsibility for that.
He's trying the third Nexus. He gets spotted immediately, and that's honestly like just him saying, well, I got to try something. He's down, you know, again, almost 100 supply. That Colossus tech we were talking about, well, he even gave up on that. He's not upgrading the range. He's not building a Colossus. He doesn't have a meaningful number of sentries. I think his time is about here.
37 Hydras with +2 range and muscular augments. And that is enough to obliterate anything. And you need that AoE. You either need Storm or you need some Colossus to deal with that. And he's got neither. And Curious is just going to hammer his way through unless he gets segmented off with force fields. I got to say, Blisk is not doing a terrible job trading out, but there's still a lot of firepower here for the Zerg. And I don't think Blisk is going to hold this in a million years.
No, he's just doing what he can to put on a show. It was actually honestly pretty over a while ago. He essentially did a 2-base timing attack that had really cool ideas and very cool implications, and on paper was working out. There was no detection for Curious. The DTs got into mineral fields that were free to run rampant, but they didn't do enough damage, and honestly, his attack to follow it up never really had teeth. Curious deflected it shockingly easily. He was like, well, I just made roaches and lings. Why don't you have as much as I do? And he had like 60 supply advantage in one.
Yep. And we should not count out SBENU just yet, by any stretch of the imagination. Although, the next match is going to be interesting for a number of reasons. One, we get to see Death in action. I've never seen him play before. Secondly, we get to see Legend in action. And thirdly, it's a TBT in Legacy of the Void beta. I don't know what to expect from this. This is going to be wild.
You don't know what to expect from a TBT in Legacy of the Void?
Not with Legend and Death involved in it. I can tell you that for a fact.
Well, I'll tell you for a fact, TotalBiscuit.
Oh, right.
It's gonna be Cyclones. Cyclones for days.
I hope Legend knows what a Cyclone is. Let me put it that way. He's been very busy the last few days with the sponsorship thing. Of course, Legend is effectively at this point the Startale manager. So he's pretty damn busy. let's see how good he is. We're about to find out. Legacy of the Void coming up next, ladies and gentlemen. SHOUTCraft Clan Wars. Currently, the Aussies lead 2-1 in this Best of 7 Pro League series. All right, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, we are back here on SHOUTCraft Clan Wars. That's a black screen, but this should be a loading screen, and it's not. All right, there we go. Lovely. Bit worried that they've broken Legacy of the Void. All right, TBT time. Let's see how this one goes.
Yeah, I really, you know, not to. This is a rabbit hole we just simply don't have time to go down because of the new changes. But yeah. I love Legacy of the Void and the changes they made. 12 harvesters means we're going to get into action a lot faster. Mining out bases means the game's in a faster pace, and the new units are micro-intensive and have multiple capabilities. I think that's really cool.
And the minimap is terrible. Holy crap.
It is bad.
What did they do? And why?
I don't know why, but it was on purpose. Yeah, you can't see the mains.
Yeah. I'm better off turning off minimap terrain in Legacy of the Void, because then I can actually see units. It's going to be bloody impossible to track drops here. So that's going to be a laugh a minute. Alright, folks, the northwest position. In the Blue Trunks playing Terran, the most legendary observer in the history of StarCraft 2. It's a SBENU legend, yes. God!
That pregnant pause, bro. I love
it. To the southeast position, in the Red Trunks, also playing Terran from Team NV, it's Death. You know, do you think he made his username when he was like 12 and now regrets it?
Yes. And I actually, if you believe people on the internet, which obviously nobody should.
Absolutely not.
Everyone made their name when they were either drunk and high in middle school or just when they were 9 years old. Like, there's so many people with weird names, and they're like, why are you called Stone Squirrel? And they're like, well, I made it when I was in middle school.
XXX, yeah, but you're 30 Sephiroth, now. XXX.
Yeah, all of them. And it's like, yeah, I made mine when I was 12, too. Was I just that much cooler than all you guys? I guess.
Obviously.
Yeah.
You used to have an 88 in your name, didn't you?
Well, no, I made the team 88, but I was originally... I actually had some lame names. One of my names was Dark Swarm, which is just an ability in Brood War.
Yeah. Nice pick off there by Legend. He gets first blood, picks off an SCV for free. Nothing to complain about there. Now, if I recall correctly, Cyclones got nerfed, didn't they? They can't hit air until they get upgraded now, right?
They need an upgrade to hit air.
Yep.
The range on their standard ability got decreased as well. So they're just a little bit nerfed, but that still does mean in a mirror matchup like TBT, where early air units aren't the biggest of deals, that's more for Overlords and Mothership Cores, really.
So I wonder if we see Banshee play as a result, though. I mean, we're already seeing a Tech Lab being slapped down here by Death, plus the Starport. So we might see kind of a reversal to, I suppose, early Heart of the Swarm TBT builds, kind of past the era of Hellbats, where they were just going early Banshee all the time. I think we might be seeing a little bit of that.
Well, with the liftoff of that factory, I think you are looking pretty damn good in your prediction right now. I can't see anything else coming off of that. I mean, I guess it could be a Raven, but that would be
overly defensive.
Weird. Yeah,
I mean, it's certainly not the only time we've seen it, but I mean, I'd go Banshee in this position, certainly. Legend's not going to do it, though. Legend is actually going for what looks to be like a Marine Hellion elevator drop, I think, by the looks of it.
And this timing attack is actually made to eat up a Banshee opening. If you go Banshee against this, it's really hard to hold off. Yes, you'll have a Banshee, but oftentimes it'll be mid-map by the time this attack hits. And even if you do have the Banshee there, you have the Marines and the Medevac to contend with. And oh, by the way, there's roughly 4 to 6 Hellions either helping out in the fight or probably more likely eating up all your SCVs.
Lovely. It's just not really what you want, is it? Legend with the hot pickup, and here he goes with 6 Marines, and Hellions are just going to be able to keep up. I'm sorry, guys. I'm turning the terrain off on the map. There's no way I can see anything without that, so you're just going to have to deal with it. Death's producing a couple of Widow Mines.
Yes.
And he's actually swapping around here. He got one Banshee. He was building a second one, then cancelled it, and is now building a Raven. So I think he expects there to be a Cloak Banshee, and he's correct. There is. There's a cloaking field on the way here for Legend.
And I'll tell you, well, I mean, that's the backfield defense for Legend, but I'm far and away more interested to see, because right now this attack is going undetected inside of Death's base, but he has this Widowmine in a great position. He's a big hit. Actually, they're all lined up.
Oh!
It's all the Marines. Most of these guys are in elderly status. They've got 1 hit to go, and they're dead.
Oh,
and there, that one Hellion just racked up 2 kills with 2 shots. And this attack has been repelled, all off the back of that single R2-D2.
That was a hit and a half, you know. That was the droid he was looking for. There's no doubt about that. So much damage, and put those Marines in such a vulnerable position. That drop should have done way more than it did. In the meantime, of course, this Cloak Banshee is going to work. It's got 5 kills already. This little droid is trying to get something done, but it's not managed it just yet. And eventually this missile turret will be complete, but at what cost? I mean, so much damage done already here by Death's Banshee. It's looking pretty brutal. Legend's got to respond with a Banshee of his own.
I just kind of realized the names. We could have gone on for hours about the jokes of, like, Death versus Legend.
Yes.
This is Cheese Factory 101, but to the point. And by the way, I was reminded of this because you said at what cost, which is, like, the age-old cheesiest thing a commentator.
I love saying that just because it's so horribly cliche.
It's the best.
It's beautiful.
It's like going to a metal concert without long hair, though. I mean, you have to... Anyways, the damage is extravagant. Both players are doing similar things. We can see the Banshee of Legend approaching Death's mineral line, but it's already being repelled. It knows Widow Mines are in there. That Raven now looks to be a brilliant choice.
It almost killed the Banshee.
Yeah, it's weird to go single Banshee with Cloak, then Raven. But Death is some kind of weird savant here because it ends up being exactly the right call. 23 kills before this.
Massive.
No. Nay, 24 kills, John.
Jesus. And now the Hellion follow-up's going to clean up what's left on the ground, unless... I mean, this Widow Mine does target, and it does fire off, but that's not going to do the trick. I mean, there's a couple of Marines trying to clean this up, but that's yet more damage done. Legend's economy is in tatters. Legend is... Well, possibly about to lose a Banshee to that Widow Mine. Thankfully, he doesn't. Yeah. Legend has got to make a comeback here off the back of these 2 Cloak Banshees, and there's already a Raven there. Good luck.
I mean, he's going to do the pet thing. This is actually worse than the pet game. He's down 30 supply.
Brutal.
He has less Harvesters. I was going to make a witty joke. I got nothing.
He almost has less Harvesters than an opponent that has Hellions, which is never a good position to be in. On the plus side, it does mean that the Hellion AoE shots will be more inefficient.
Yeah, I mean, you are correct.
Oh my god, this is
here.
Horribly one-sided, and it really all turned around off that drop, because as you said, that drop should have been hyper-effective, and that one Widow Mine hit the ideal splash. It couldn't have been any better.
Yeah, I don't know. It would be difficult to see a better shot. SCV is dying right and left, and the problem this Cloaked Banshee poses, by the way, is unless it kills itself by being... Okay, well, in theory... It could have been really bad because Legend can't do any scans. He has to drop every mule he has, and he's actually phoning in friends right now for more mules than what is possible. Because if he doesn't get them, he's just a dead man. So that's why he rushed to finish that CC. But you know what? Actually, I just had this weird moment. I only saw the natural of Death, and I was like, did he relocate his whole main? Nope.
Ah, that's game. And rightfully so. Probably about 2 minutes after it should have been, really. But yeah, there you go. Death picks it up, and... Again, it maybe should have been Legend's game, but that Widow Mine hit was so very good. And Death...
It's lost placement by Death, because it wasn't perfectly hidden, by the way. A lot of times you can put it in a spot where the towers of the gas will hide the Widow Mine. It wasn't really there, but it was in position to perfectly deflect that timing attack, and the Cloaked Banshee did so much damage in the backfield. 24 kills. I mean...
It's huge. Absolutely massive.
It's gigantic.
Yep, absolutely. All right, well, Legend unfortunately eats another loss there for SBENU, I think.
I'll stop laughing eventually, but I
know you won't. No, you bloody well won't. You'll milk this for all it's worth.
You pause because you're like, your brain's like, it is SBENU.
It is SBENU, right? It's not SBENU. SBENU? No, SBENU. Yes, SBENU is correct. Oh god. Yep. Well, I just can't wait to see someone in Pro League get tormented in round 3. It's going to be, what? Wolf will get tormented, Moonglade will get tormented, and it'll be wonderful. And I'm going to enjoy every last bloody minute of it.
They should put Artosis there just for how funny that is, because he can't say basic name correctly. Imagine SBENU for him.
It's never going to happen in a million years. No. He can't even pronounce Zealot, can he?
I mean, the list of the names that he has butchered is longer than the list of the ones he's gotten correct. So
he's a mass murderer. He's the Genghis Khan of botchery.
He is.
All right, what's the next game coming up? Well, it is a bit of a swap. You may have noticed on the lineup that things looked a little bit weird because you were expecting Demilov versus Daisy as the opener on Karda. As it turns out, that has actually moved to Game 5, which is next. So, the question is, can Daisy bring it back? He's got a good shot against Demilov, but he is the last man standing here against the Aussies, who are looking to take a 4-1 victory, which would be a absolute stomping. Let's see if Daisy can bring it back. We'll find out after the break. Jeff, did you bug out in the lobby? Are you in the game?
I tried to join it, so I can't. So...
Ah, goddammit. Okay. Lobby broken. Alright. We're gonna have to remake the game. Okay, that's fine. We're just gonna quickly remake. My apologies, folks. We had a bit of a lobby bug going on there. Not really sure what caused that. In the meantime, this is the lineup as it currently stands. You can see that the Aussies are leading 3 games to 1. Perhaps very unexpected, I think, for a lot of people. And I wouldn't blame you for considering that to be unexpected whatsoever. I think it was a bit of a surprise for me as well, but let's be honest, like, whenever Who comes on the field, they put on a good show.
Yeah, and they're always considered the underdogs, but it's not completely, like, super unpredictable for them to do well. I mean, they play on the Korean server mostly. The guys they do send abroad do fairly well. I think StarCraft just has an extremely high threshold for what success is. And, like, you know, Pig spent a lot of time abroad in Europe, and he never won a DreamHack. What an idiot. He wasn't very good, you know, but he actually did pretty well. And they have some really good players. So I'm surprised, but if you look at the draw of players that are winning, it's not super shocking for me.
Yeah, I think a lot of people just remember big tournament victories, and anyone that doesn't have one is basically a bad player, and that's a shame, because these guys are playing matches every day, and they're winning matches every single day, but nobody remembers that, you know?
If Curious would have lost, my head would have spun in many directions. I think that would have been crazy unpredictable, but getting a 2 vs 2 out from underneath them, Legend losing, The ZVZ was nice. That's really good by Pig. That was cool.
I would absolutely agree with that one. Now, the question is, can Demilov put it away? Because he is certainly a lesser-known player in comparison to big names like Igers, Betrayus, and Pig. And he is up against Daisy, who is a fairly recent recruit, if I recall correctly, to SBENU.
Yeah.
So we'll see how he does. I mean, I would say this is in favor of Daisy without too much of a problem, unless, of course, Daisy hasn't practiced the map. But this is one of our more standard maps. It's not exactly too wacky, so we'll see how it goes. Presenting to you, ladies and gentlemen, to the northwest position on Karda in the Green Trunks playing Zerg, it is Demilov. Versus his opponent to the southeast position in the Red Trunks playing Protoss, it is SBENU's Daisy.
And Daisy is a player that has spent a lot of time in the foreigner scene as well. He competed in WCS EU for a long time. Not a huge amount of success, but he always was a threat, and he is a guy that is not afraid to do the most cheesy of cheesy crap that you will ever see. Not just because he's Protoss, but because that's just what he does. And when he does it, he's just scary. He's a lot like a Patience, if you will, in the sense that he executes the builds extremely well and has very, very good micro. I would say he's like a lesser Patience, though, in almost every way. I
was about to point out that he's a very technical Protoss. And you'll generally see him be able to execute and work miracles on 2 bases, which is often... I know a lot of people think that maybe a 2-base Protoss all-in is not particularly skillful, but it's often very technical in the way that it's executed. Timing's got to be perfect, micro's got to be perfect. You're working with a very small number of units, and if you lose even one of those key units, you can be in a lot of trouble, especially when it involves sentries, so you need to be very, very careful with that. Demilov, on the other hand, I'm gonna be honest, I don't really know a huge amount about him. I have not seen him play as of yet. I believe he's actually a new recruit to Clan Who. I don't believe he played in Season 1 of Clan Wars, so we really don't have too much to go on.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, a lot of these names are kind of obscure, like Death, but even Death, I myself have played countless ladder games against, and he's just always been a GM, you know, fairly high-level Terran player, and I knew that he was from the Aussie region because they all talk about themselves. And I don't mean that in a weird way. They're know
all
they're
basically horrible narcissist criminals, is what you're saying, right?
You know what? I'm comfortable saying it. It's fine. It's canon now. But Demilov, either he is going under a new name, or I just don't recall him, but I have not seen the name. And he has a tall order here. He's got the ability to put his team away with a clear 4-1 win over SBENU, which would be incredible.
Yep.
Or he could predictably lose to the much more well-known and favored Protoss player Daisy, and unfortunately he would remain obscure.
That would be unfortunate, wouldn't it? That's a pretty fast warp gate coming out of Daisy here, but he is going for an expansion behind it. No one base all-in shenanigans. Just keep an eye on where his chrono boost is going. He is actually chrono boosting his Nexus and not chrono boosting his warp gate, so he's evidently not too worried about getting creatures out just yet on the field. And he doesn't have to worry either. Demilov's getting 2 queens. He's got his 4 lings on the board, so with a Zealot out, no real threat here to Daisy.
No, and it's going to act as mostly a scouting, so a lot of times Protoss players will actually cancel this Zealot in favor of a slightly faster Nexus. And of course, with the Motion Core popping out and Stalkers coming up behind it, the Zealot doesn't have much in the way of a function. But Daisy's going to use it as kind of an exploratory Zealot. It's going to go over here, see if there's a third base, see if there's like 20 lings coming out. And as you said, he's going to kind of stop these lings from hacking away at that rock tower, which I guess would close the 2 here.
It would, yes. The HP of these rock towers is linked, meaning that once that collapses, that walls that area off. It makes a third much, much easier to take here for the Zerg player, so it doesn't surprise me. But it looks like Daisy has obviously practiced this map and has seen this happen before, since he sent the Zealot directly to that location to try and prevent that third going down.
And TotalBiscuit, predictably, as we said, we could potentially see a very fast game here. This pylon's going to go down where that third was supposedly, as you said, in theory going to go down. That being said, though, both these players seem to like their cheese pizzas because Demilov is also making a Roachborn and still mining gas. He also is stocking up on Larva. He has no intention for this game to go much further. He is making a Spinecrawler, however, so I think what he's saying is, I see you making 4 gates. I know a timing attack is coming. I want to defend it and perhaps push out of that.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't work, TotalBiscuit, he's screwed because it's 2 base Protoss versus 2 base Zerg. He needs a big win here.
Well, as it stands, we got 1 sentry and a bunch of Zealots, and it doesn't look like that Spine's actually going to finish. It's going to get chopped into tiny little pieces of sushi there, and we've got 1 dead queen, followed up by possibly a 2nd dead queen, but the roaches are out now, so it's going to push this back. A lot of fire from the queen was actually focused on the mothership core to no avail, which I think was perhaps a mistake.
Yeah, the 2 queens went after the Mothership Core, which is really nice if they get the Mothership Core, but they didn't, and in doing it, they lose 1 queen and almost another. Roaches are out, and this mostly Zealot-heavy composition is no match for it, so our very experienced player, Daisy's going to back up for now. He loses that forward pylon, but you can see he has one immediately behind it, and even some supply here as well. So the timing attack could continue. I was going to pay him a compliment, but I guess I did that caster curse thing again. I don't like that he stayed here, because honestly, Roach is off of 2 base at this timing. He has to say, well, I'm ahead economically. Let's just go home. Which
he
is exactly
recalled after losing loads of units as well. Like, for some reason, he thought he could hang on, which was completely false. He may have underestimated the number of units that Demilov actually had. So now he recalls with half of his army. He doesn't have a lot of energy on his mothership core. He's basically now trapped in his base for all intents and purposes, and a third's going down, and there's the collapse. As you can see, the rocks are now in the way, so nothing's getting through there anytime soon.
Not anytime soon, and you know, it is weird. He did just lose Zealots, so it's not like he lost 5 sentries, and we can talk about this gigantic mistake that could potentially cost him the game, but it is something. Supply-wise, the Zergs are slightly ahead. Harvester-wise, slightly ahead. Not the biggest of deals there, but really importantly, Daisy just now went up to 4 gases, like literally just now. It was 1 gas before that, so he doesn't have a gas stockpile, only has 2 sentries and now Immortals. He's going to follow this up with an Immortal push. If that doesn't work, TotalBiscuit, this game is over, and the Australians will take it 4-1.
That would be an upset, I think. Demilov taking out someone like Daisy is not an expected result, certainly. I think the 2v2, sure, I can see that. Aegis and Betrayus are great. And, of course, we did see the mistake there from Pet and the ZBZ. And it's a ZBZ. It can kind of go either way. But this, I mean, this is looking great for Demilov here. This could really put him on the map. And he's following this up with a Hydra Den. Nice big Roach Hydra build. And without any sign of Colossus yet coming from Daisy, this could be pretty effective. We'll see.
Yeah, it's going to be... It's looking okay. The creep spread's starting to get out there as well. And you'll notice... I want to confirm this, but I believe... Yeah, I think actually Daisy skipped Observer as well. A lot of times you'll make the Immortals first, then follow it up with an Observer, but he's making the Warp Prism, actually. And this is going to be the faster variety of Immortal pushes. And without detection, that means he's going to be fighting on creep for the duration of this fight, which is very bad as well.
Yeah, 600's on the way already, so that Warp Prism is in a risky position. It could, if that gets shot out of the sky, especially with units in it, that pretty much seals the fate of Daisy. This is a very knife-edge engagement we're about to see here between these two players. Daisy has got to do that critical damage, and he's up against a fairly large force. Admittedly, he does have 2 Immortals. They can fight pretty well against Roaches, but there's Hydras on the way, and Roach speed is on the way as well. This is going to be interesting, and this wall off, this rock, might just buy enough time here for our Zerg player.
I'm really impressed with Demilov's play right now. He cut drones. He's not saturating his third. He knew this timing attack was coming, and he's got a huge force. He's up in supply. He needs to engage really well here. Hydras are in a little bit of a weird spot. They can get force fielded down, but Daisy's going to be hesitant to engage. Sees the Hydras and says, no, okay,
nope.
I'm not fighting into a concave there, and it's going to reposition over here.
Yeah, he's going straight to Colossus now by the looks of it. He sees the Hydras like, all right, this is not a good idea. What I'd like to see Daisy do is a little bit of trickery with a Warp Prism, for instance. The nice big Force Sentry play, that can work.
You asked for it.
Yep, you can wall off your opponent's main. You can then warp Zealots into the mineral line, do a lot of economic damage, maybe pick off a key tech structure. He's got to be careful, though. I mean, he's taken his Warp Prism and 4 Sentries away from his composition against a vastly superior force already. It's a dicey move, but he might need to do it.
And I'll tell you what, look at the, I don't know, the cool under pressure here from our Zerg player. He's going into Station Pit, which is an answer to those Colossus, but also he's got units in the main already.
Yeah, he's already on top of it.
Overlord spotted the Warp Prism. He knew that what he was trying for. Position, if ever was given up, is now, but Daisy's just too afraid to commit, and I don't blame him for it. He's one bad fight away from a quick departure. Grabs for himself a few Hydras here, not bad.
Yep. It's nice to see him cut off a little bit of that army and do some damage. He's managed to narrow the supply gap a little bit. Adding Colossus into this mix is a good idea, but there is a Hive on the way, so we can expect to see a Viper follow-up here. So there's going to be, I think, a very, very small timing window where Daisy might have maybe a couple of Colossi, and that might do the trick, but this is still difficult. I mean, Demilov's sitting comfortably on 3 bases. We've got Daisy with no sign of expansion here by the looks of it. I mean, Demilov is putting up a great fight.
And he's not even building any Harvesters, is Daisy. He's just sitting at, I mean, he's got 17 in the main, but 16 at the natural. I mean, this is as bare bones 2-base timing attack as you can get. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself here, but I do have to say, if Demilov can seal this deal and push it out, that's, I mean, it's amazing, because the more games that these Koreans win, the closer they could get to that ace match, TotalBiscuit. And in the ace match, they send out Curious, and I feel like the Australians send out a sacrificial lamb. I don't know that any of them can stand up. I mean, it's a best of one, so yeah, anything can happen, but Curious has to be the vast favorite versus anybody, especially since they are playing on the Korean server. There's no excuse to be made.
It's also worth bearing in mind that God damn it, SBENU has access to Dongregyu and Bomber and Myung-sik, none of whom are currently fielded. I mean, I wouldn't call this the B team necessarily, but it's definitely the weaker players of SBENU, and they can field any one of those players as an ace. So the last thing the Aussies want is to have to face off against that. So Demilov has really got to hold this, and he might be able to. He might.
It's got to be now, though. Daisy's attacking just before the Vipers come out. Good force fields
Lovely
go down.
Force fields.
A lot of units getting killed here. He does not want to over-engage here. If the concave of the Zerg is able to start to fight against this Protoss ball, he could die. But this is the strongest point in time for the Protoss. The 2 Colossus are grabbing up and eating so many of those Hydras. The Vipers come out, but they don't have energy for an abduct, so they die almost immediately. And this is a great engagement from Daisy.
Force fields for days here from Daisy. What can I say? And he's doing so much damage. He's killed 18, 20 workers now. The Colossus stand tall. There's nothing to stop them. The army of Demilov can't even escape, and Daisy's position was looking precarious, but he took that fight beautifully.
And Demilov is going to be so sad, because literally, I feel like he was, I don't know, 20 seconds away from probably doing this to Daisy. I mean, this location and those force fields made it look really good for Daisy, but if you take the Colossus out of those compositions, it's rough. It's rough for the Protoss. Nice save of the
lovely pick up. Oh no, it's gonna die to drones! Well, I guess that's a Pyrrhic victory, isn't it?
It is, and the Warp Prism is actually still around, so he's gonna warp in. It's a hot warp in, if you will. And right now, Demilov is trying to do what he can. Vipers are good, but not that great, and he taps out.
SBENU's pulling it back, folks. 3 games to 2. Daisy is able to make it happen on 2 bases. He actually took a 3rd Nexus behind all of that. Not that it ended up being relevant, but that was a nice engagement indeed from SBENU Daisy. And the series will continue, which is I think for many people a good thing, certainly. I don't think many people are going to complain too much. Maybe some of the Aussies might be a little upset, but remember, it's still 3-2. I mean, we've got a lead here for the Aussies going into the next map, and we're going to see SBENU put out Alive, and he's going to be taking on Lore on Suncross. That's a bit of a mismatch to me. I mean, again, I don't know a lot about Lore, but Alive is nasty, as you are well aware.
And it's kind of a question of what form of Alive we'll see here. I mean, he just got recruited, as you said, so he's still chasing the pro gamer dream, and he is an extremely successful, at least historically speaking, pro gamer. So I hope to see some level of that Alive. And in the 2vs2, which of course is kind of a weird barometer for a lot of that classic Alive harass style, which gets me really excited, because that was his forte. If he can harass and multitask against you, you can be in a lot of trouble, because he is very micro-oriented.
All right, well, we're going to see exactly what's going to happen on the next map. Suncross, pretty large map. It's going to be Lore taking on Alive. Will he be able to bring it home for the Aussies, or will they take it to the ace, where SBENU was perhaps at their deadliest? We'll find out after the break. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Suncross, one of the largest maps, if not the largest map in the map. It's my pleasure to bring you Lore. He is the Lore. He is in the red trunks. He is playing Zerg to the east versus his opponent to the west position, who actually has his own little icon. That's very fancy, although he is now part of Team SBENU, formerly known as Startale in the blue trunks playing Terran. He is alive.
Alive indeed. Large map. Potentially good. I mean, the nice thing about ZVT is both players have access to tools that can utilize that. Fast medevacs, fast bioforces, really punishing in that regard, but also Zerg can be very quick themselves. Ling, Baneling, Mutalisk, probably the fastest army in the game in terms of common army compositions and how it gets around. So that'll be interesting. But again, on paper, we're kind of in that similar situation where it's like, who is Law? I'm sorry? Like, you know, Iagaz? Yeah. Pig? Yeah. Patreus? Yeah. Law?
Yeah, he was not part of the roster for Season 1, so this guy's new to me, I've got to say. And if he's anything like Demilove, then that's going to be, I would hope, a fairly impressive display. Lore actually manages to miss the expansion there, which is very unfortunate. He actually didn't go up the other ramp. So he didn't get to see the gas first, which is a super old-school play there from Alive. Hell, or maybe he... What is this?
Well, Mr. TotalBiscuit. This, my friend, is all the rage right now. I can't actually name the map because I'm horrible about map names right now, but the map in the normal ladder right now that has that back rocks entry into the main, all the rage is to proxy hatch right to it, Spinecrawler rush up inside of it, and then push with queens, Spinecrawlers, and lings. Maybe roaches. I commonly see it in the ZVP matchup, rarely in the ZVT, but it functions very similar, and a lot of times Terran players... I mean, if he goes 3rd CC, he's dead. We see a factory right now, which is fine. He's going to go the standard, probably, which is just Reaper Hellion. But all those things suck against Spinecrawlers and Queens, for the most part, and they're going to be in his base fairly soon.
Lore needs to confirm the location of this, but he is bringing an Overlord over. I mean, basically, this hatchery is at the back of 2 potential base spawn locations, so he needs to confirm which it's actually at before he starts knocking on the door, but he's going to be able to do that without too much of a problem. I mean, now he's seen, okay, my opponent is obviously down at the bottom here. Alive is not going to... I mean, Alive hasn't even scouted yet. He's going to have a look around. He's never going to see this in a million years, surely.
You know, they should, though. I don't think you put the 2nd depot there, but you would put the 3rd. If he doesn't put the 3rd depot there, he's completely boned. As we can see in timing here, though, even if he did put the 3rd depot there, he's probably still in a lot of trouble. We see nothing coming off that barracks, and it's just Hellions. And he's going to need all hands on deck in a second here, because that... I mean, it is 2,000 health debris, but it'll go down really quick.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking big hits from the spines there to break that. And currently he has no vision on it, so he's not even going to be able to see or much less hear it. The Hellion attack, assuming he can actually find his opponent, which he now has, is certainly going to do damage. I mean, there's no real defense at home right now, but this is concerning, to say the least. Alive has no idea this is coming.
He sees no expansion. He sees the gas. He sees the spawning pool quivering. He knows an all-in is coming. What does he do with that? Well, he's not checking the back rocks, TotalBiscuit, and that's going to be the bane of his existence.
The you are fully in control of your language.
Oh, God.
But look at this. Roaster time as a couple of Hellions move in and do some damage. They're up against slowlings for the time being, so some economic damage is being done, but Law's knock, knock, knock on the back door. Alive is now just seeing this creep, but he's doing damage here. There's actually not a lot of defense here for Law at home, and Alive is in the mineral line.
Yeah, he could actually, he's going to need to. He's going to need to do a lot of damage, because he's going to have to give up his own mineral line, as you can see here. 2 more Hellions coming out.
He's not going to be able to get his... Oh, if he could have got his supply depot up, that would have been huge.
Yeah, the Lings have speed now, so they can actually kind of fight the Hellions. And they come out on the wrong side inside of his own main, so they're in trouble, but he's actually doing nice micro here to go ahead and get everything out of them.
Not good focus fire here from Law either. He actually could have easily taken that Hellion out, and somehow, some way, this cheese being as powerful as it is, Alive ends up ahead. 6 drones versus 12 workers and a second base here for Alive.
Yeah, he's mining off that natural, which is fine. He's like, go ahead and take the main. It's going to take forever for the spine crawlers to get down there.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, there's just no mining inside the base for Alive. I'll tell you what, on paper, this is going to go down as a predictable win for Alive, but I love the idea behind what Law did here. Not to get too far ahead of myself, it looks like both players are going to kind of fight on. No. Law's got nothing. He's not even mining.
No. I mean, he's got links to those 2 spines and the 2 queens. He's going to try and kill his opponent with them. And I mean, that's
a long distance. No,
not in a million years. No. Let's be realistic.
He was actually
ace match time. Fun time.
Ace match time?
All right. Well, that was interesting. I mean, I liked Law's approach. The interesting thing about that was, I wonder if Alive had not gone gas first, if that would have gone down the same way. What do you reckon? Do you think like the slightly faster Hellions really made the difference there, or was he doomed either way?
I think so. I think it's interesting because you ask really good questions, kind of like how much ripples would the one stone cause. But they got there before the queen got out. They got there before speed finished. If speed does finish, and he has like 8 or so lings versus the first 3 Hellions, does he surround, hold him off, and then do the damage he did inside the main? He might. It comes down to the question of, does Alive micro well enough or not? So I feel like Alive did the build that he did and was able to execute it extremely well. He didn't get lucky anywhere. If anything, he got almost unlucky. But I really like the build from Law. I think that was a really cool idea. And by the way, that's just a flat build order win versus like CC first, which is also super common on a 4-player map. If you would have gone 3rd CC, that's a straight up win. There's like a lot of builds that Alive could have absolutely done that Law just flat out would have beat. And for a player like Law, who we're all going, who is this guy? Against Alive to win it for his team, I don't fault him for a build like that.
No, I think it was a good build. It's just unfortunate that he got caught off by an old school Alive build. I mean, come on, gas first Hellion? That's pretty brutal.
Yeah, I agree. And as you said, though, with that result, all of a sudden, SBENU, who was looking at disaster, they were looking at getting blanked or manhandled by these crazy Aussies, is now in the ace match, and they gotta feel comfortable there. That's where you look at a team like SBENU and you say, well, these guys should not lose to almost anybody in the ace match. They have incredible players to put there.
They really do. Like, they have access to their entire roster, and if you don't know what their roster is right now, it's bloody terrifying. The stuff that the players that they fielded today, they're good, but you've got to bear in mind they also have Dongray Gu, they've got Bomber, they've got Myung Sik, none of whom have played today, and they can. Bear that in mind. They are more than capable of fielding those players. They are allowed to do so. So, and of course, that's not even taking into account the possibility that Curious comes up again. And he might. Yeah. He very well might. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's an equal playing field. Like, a lot of times against Korean teams, you can say stuff like, well, they're playing on the NA server, or it's late at night for them. Nah, these Aussies are in exactly the same boat. This is man versus man, and it's all going to come down to this final match. That's exciting.
It's a great time for both. It's, I think, 11 o'clock in the morning for the Koreans and about 12 midday for the Aussies, so it's perfect time for them. I mean, people will ask, well, why do you run so many Clan Wars at 8 p.m. Eastern? That's why. It's good for the Aussies, it's good for the Koreans. So we put it on at this time because it's appropriate for them. So, these teams have 5 minutes to choose an ace. It could be absolutely anyone from their lineup. We're going to find out in 5 minutes after this break, folks. The ace match. SBENU taking on Clan Who. It's 3 for 3. Don't go anywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, here we are on Oracleum. This is the ace match into the northwest position for the Aussies of Clan Who in the green trunks playing Protoss. It is Blisk looking for redemption versus his opponent who appears out of the blue to fight for SBENU in the blue trunks playing Terran. It is Hack.
I gotta say, interesting selection for Team Who. I mean, I get Hack. He is certainly of the caliber of their starting lineup. In fact, as you said earlier, he was intended to be. He had a family engagement, so that's what pulled him away from that 2 versus 2. But Blisk, I don't know. Maybe they thought a Terran would come out, and Iagaz didn't want a TVT. But Betrayus and Pig, both extremely good all-around Zerg players. So then it kind of leaves me thinking, well, maybe it's the map. And as I look at the map, pretty basic. You know, the back pathway leads to a gold base, and it's all blocked off by rocks, so it's not a terrible option for a third. It gets pretty far away from your natural, so in that sense it's terrible, but otherwise fairly defensible. And then it's a pretty wide open map, so I think, again, I could see Protoss having a really tough time on here, but Blisk is not so much a 3-base Protoss from what we gather. He's a fairly cheesy guy. Maybe he has a 2-base execute planned out, but otherwise, I just don't get the pick.
It's been unusual, isn't it? Maybe they're just giving Blisk a chance at redemption. Maybe Blisk has had an opportunity to have a look at this map in the past, and in the discussion says, you know what, guys, I know Oracleum, I'm familiar with it. Maybe some of the other guys said, oh, well, I haven't had a chance to practice. As you noted, Oracleum is not a particularly unusual map. It's no Engines of War when it comes to wackiness, but if Blisk has had some experience, maybe that's something to do with it.
It is small. It's strikingly small. A lot of the maps in this day and age in competitive play is getting more medium-sized to large, I would find. But if you look at this, it's fairly short. And again, you kind of look at the rush distance between the two bases, and that actually is quite short as well. A lot of times you'll play on a small map, but the middle of the map will be fairly congested so that getting from point A to point B, the two mains, is quite laborious. But on this map, not so much the case. There's nothing congesting up the middle at all. So this Reaper's going to get there fairly fast. No much faster, I suppose, than on any other map. But I don't know. It's just I'm not going to drag on and on with this. I promise. But
it's going to get a probe. That's a lovely pickoff for Hack. Fantastic. I mean, it gets the scouting probe just as it leaves the base before the mothership core comes out. That's a win in itself. So I think he's going to see that Nexus, and then he's going to know all he needs to know and get out of there very easily.
You definitely don't account for getting a drone, or a probe, excuse me.
No.
It's like a bonus. You account for getting all the scouting information, which, as you said, he got that and more. So he's happy with it.
Hack's
but he didn't lose too much. Ooh, now that is interesting. Because as I look at the perimeter of the main base, there's no place for that Reaper to hop up.
No,
it has to go in the natural, which is not great.
Yeah, it's an interesting choice. I mean, there's a Stalker on the way. It's not going to be up for another 20 or so seconds, but I'm not 100% sure what the second Reaper was for and what it's going to accomplish. We'll see. He's going for the mineral line. He's going to get plinked on, certainly, by the mothership core there, but he gets one probe, gets a second one. Blisk kind of distracted there by the looks of it. He moved his mothership core in the wrong direction.
A little bit of slow reaction there from him, but with the stock right in the mothership core, he should put a lockdown on this. And
he's trying to ward him away from that Twilight Council, but it's not going to happen. Hack's going to see it. He's going to commit the Reapers to it, and he's going to lose one, maybe even both.
I'll tell you what, if it weren't for scouting the Citadel and getting another probe, I would actually say it's a bit of a wash, because 2 Reapers is pretty expensive, and let's not forget also the earlier reactor and stuff like that. It has its effect, but by scouting this critical tech and also getting, I think it's 4 probes in total, absolutely worth it. Hack's got to be happy.
Yeah, I would think so. He should be fairly happy with that. And of course, here comes the blink. It may be the same build. It would be a little bit weird to see that. Maybe we see some weird proxy DT nonsense. I doubt it, but
no pylon up there. No gas for Dark Shrine.
Looks like it's just going to be a 2-base blink all in, I would think, from Blisk. We'll see what he decides to do. Hack, in the meantime, is just grabbing himself Marines, Medevacs, Widowmines, getting bunkers up. I mean, it's everything you could want, really. He could probably use a couple of Marauders here and there. That would be nice. But currently, he doesn't have the means to build them.
Robo does go down for Blythe, so he will have access to some detection. A lot of times, these builds, if without that detection, can be boiled down to as simple as, well, do the Widowmines get in the mineral field? Because if they do, GG. You know, he's either mining at a deficit or slowly being destroyed by the Widowmines within. But he's going to have some detection.
What is that? Where is Bliss going? That's a little bit of a weird scouting path, don't you think?
Yes, super weird. I thought he was going to take like a weird 3rd Nexus, but he's not.
Yeah. Is he trying to maybe see the drop coming in, maybe?
He's going to get oh god, the Reaper. Yeah, okay.
That Reaper's going to get some... No. All right, well, I mean, Hack's going to see it and immediately turn around and shoot it. At least Bliss gets some warning about the Widowmine drop, but I don't know if he's going to respond in time to it.
Well, it's like one of those things where he did see it, but did he see it? You know what I mean?
He's not moving. I don't think he saw it. Yeah, you may very well be right. He's actually moving in the wrong direction.
Supply block, too.
Oh, man. This is not good for Blisk at all, and perhaps you questioning whether or not Blisk was the right choice for the ace was the correct one.
Well, good reaction there, and that's the important one. Yeah, so he gets back, and 2 probes will die. If he can get the... Looks like he will not actually get the medevac as well.
Blink wasn't ready. That's unfortunate. If he'd invested Chrono Boost into Blink instead of into the Nexus, he might have been able to pull that off, but no, as it turns out. Tries to snipe it on the way out. Doesn't happen.
Yeah, he doesn't get the medevac. He Photon Overcharged the Natural, which was a little bit early. If we look back at Hack's base, he's kind of gearing up for an attack, and that's something that could potentially come back to bite him. He's, of course, going to have enough energy for a Photon Overcharge, but you really want to have the 2. That's super nice. And he might actually, if enough time is bought here.
Blisk is building all the tech. DT Shrine as well. It's crazy.
Widowmine does die. Medevac seems to go ahead and get out here. But as you said, Dark Shrine's about to finish. Now that too was scouted. And that's the nice thing about Hack's style and just in general being a micro-oriented harass type player. Through his harass, which in and of itself was good, he also says, oh, okay, Dark Shrine. So look at that. Missile turret in the main, missile turret in the natural. And guess what? Doesn't give a damn anymore. Hack. He doesn't care about DTs. They're going to do nothing.
Why would he? No. Unless we see some absolutely bizarre Archon play here, which I frankly don't expect. And, I mean, what would it even do? I think Hack is going to be just fine by the looks of it. Blisk is obviously at a supply deficit. He does have this Warp Prism coming in, but the main and the natural are pretty damn close together. It's not like Hack can't respond to attacks coming his way. You know, the only problem is that Stim isn't done yet, I think. But outside of that, I think Hack's going to be fine.
Yeah, and Hack has medevacs as well, so any kind of force field play, if that comes into... Well, okay, he is actually just warping DTs in the main. Stalker's going to occupy Hack's attention. Going for the medevac. Good shot there. Gets the medevac and blinks back, but Hack is such a good player. He also saw the attack coming in. He's going to repair the missile turret, and guess what? These ETs are expensive. He's going Colossus behind this. He's only on 2 bases. Oh, and he might lose the medevac as well. No, he gets out of there. But that was an expensive miss attack and a great defense by Hack.
Oh, yeah. Hack was looking good there. It was even a little bit of miss micro here around the supply depot, so nothing really got done with the DTs. And like you said, that's gas that could have been a Colossus, and it would have been nice to get those extras on the field. Blisk's army is tiny right now against a devastatingly large Bioforce. 8 Marauders, 5 Medevacs, 2 Widowmines, 26 Marines, and that might even be... Blisk, you better get the hell out of there. You are severely outnumbered.
He is. He's just trying to buy some time. He has a second Colossus coming out, range about to finish. He has the tools to defend, and I'll tell you what, TotalBiscuit, I love that bottom left he's taking a gold base. Like I said, especially against a drop player like Hack, it's potentially terrible. But if he doesn't scout it, it's amazing.
The question is, can he even hold against what's coming in his general direction? There is gonna be a Colossus helping out here. He wants to try and take out the Widowmines. He gets one before the detonation. The second one goes right into the middle, though. And Hack's gonna knock on the door here as well. Where is that Mothership Core? Photonova charges down, but the amount of economic damage, I mean, this Nexus is just gonna die.
Yeah, it just right-clicks the Nexus and kills it immediately. He needed to diversify his army a little bit better, like send his Stalkers at home, keep the Colossus here, something, but as it is, he loses the natural.
Probes down, man. That is absolutely brutal, even with the gold base, and that's assuming he even lives past this, and his Stalker's just kind of derping around, getting shot to pieces. And yes, Hack's attacking army is obliterated, but he's now reliant on actually getting probes down to this gold base without being spotted, and how's he going to manage that?
Well, TotalBiscuit, what probes is he going to get down to that base?
Not many. 41
the base is
dead.
about to be found, by the way, as well. Accidentally found, as if we needed more salt to this wound. There's no defense for that base whatsoever. And Blysk is down to 55 supply versus 100 and climbing. He's rebuilding the natural, but like I said, he has no probes for the natural. Screw it. He can't even supply his main base.
Yeah, Zealots warp in, but it doesn't make a damn bit of difference. They don't even kill a Marine. They're getting shut down completely, and Blisk, 54 supply versus 117. Hack has been dominating this entire game. I mean, the Hack hasn't made a mistake up to this point, and Blisk, unfortunately, has made a couple, and he has been punished hard for that. There's just a medevac just leering around here to the northwest, just keeping an eye on what Blisk is actually doing, just to make sure there's no funny business, but I don't think there's any funny business that Blisk could even pull at this point.
Yeah, well, you know, we were being critical of SBENU earlier on, but once the big guns came out to play, they closed the door pretty hard on these Aussies, and now it's time to be a little bit critical of them. Like, they played amazingly well earlier on, and having been, you know, I'm still on a team, I still compete, I understand that sometimes Clan Wars drag on a little bit, and your like, player availability is limited. Maybe Petraeus can't play, maybe Pig can't play, maybe Iges can't play, but I have to imagine they had a better player, and if they didn't, then prepare better, because they could have beat SBENU or Startale or Koreans. They could have beat Koreans, for God's sake.
They could have closed it out 4-1, man, as we know. But unfortunately, Blisk didn't really get much done. And oh my god, look at those Widow Mines! These guys aren't even getting back home. I mean, that wasn't even necessary. That was, frankly, a war crime. And Hack is just rolling over what remains of Blisk and the Aussie hopes here, I'm afraid. And yeah, you're right. They put on a fantastic early performance. Really good, but Blisk wasn't up to the task. Hack takes it in a sweeping fashion, and SBENU barely ekes out a win. I think, you know, that's the one thing to point out here, is that SBENU just barely won. That was not an easy victory for them.
It was not, and like I said, in the first few matches, it was a resounding win in the 2 versus 2. I loved the ZVZ coming out from Pig. That was really well played. I actually, you know, I liked the build from both Law and Blisk. Like, they tried to pull off a couple of cheesy builds, but they were facing bigger odds, right? Daisy and Furious. These are extremely difficult opponents, and they probably had to do some kind of pocket strategy. Came awfully close, but in the ace match, I don't know. I mean, like I said, I feel like that's always going to be SBENU's wheelhouse. Like, whoever you face is going to be an underdog, but these Australians have some pretty damn good players. We just didn't get a chance to see one of them. I did like Blisk's build. It was really cool, but Hack was all over it. He defends the DTs. The Colossus are cool, but what good are Colossus if you're losing 2 Nexus for free?
Yep, I would like to see, certainly in the next lineup from Clan Who, I would love to see Iges and Petraeus deployed in singles action. That would be good. I mean, they're great 2v2 team, but bear in mind, in the Clan War, you can reuse 2v2 players in 1v1. So you could have replaced, and no insult to any of these guys, but you could have replaced Law with Petraeus, you could have replaced Demilov or Blisk with Iges, and suddenly you have a potential for a 4-1 there, I think. Because those guys are really, really good. They've beaten Koreans in the past. Demilov, Law, Blisk, less so. You know, they're not really known for being top-tier foreigners, so I think that they had a good shot, and I think that this is going to be a nice learning experience for them. They've obviously got the core of a really good clan here. I just want to see, if they're going to deploy Law as, say, a specialist sniper, need him to make sure that he's got a little bit of defense at home, that he has all the bases covered, because that was a cool build. It almost worked. Almost.
And like I said, I want to give a benefit of the doubt to Team Who. There's all kinds of reasons for why players could go out, so it's not like we have the final say on, like, this guy's just not as good. That's bad. They're dumb. Like that's not what we're saying. I'm sure there's a reasonable reason for all that. And also, in their defense, I like, to your point, that we saw a diverse group of guys. We got to see their top dogs. Sure, it was in 2 versus 2 and only 1 versus 1 in Pig, but it was kind of cool. Demilove and Law and Blisk all did really interesting builds that came at points fairly close to beating really good and established Korean players. A lot less so in the Ace match. That didn't come close at all. He got his ass handed to him. But in all the other games, it was pretty great, and I thought they put on a good show.
Well, never mess with Koreans in the Ace match. Ideally, if you're up against a Korean team, you never want to take them there, because not only are they going to deploy a really powerful player, but when it comes to a pinch, they're always going to be better.
Yes.
What we're seeing is the foreigners are putting in great prep work, so they're getting early advantages, but if they lose grasp of the clan war, if it gets to the Ace, they generally lose. So what we need to see is these guys closing things out a little bit better, but I think that Clan Who did a great job, especially early on. I think they have a great shot at beating these teams, and SBENU is probably one of the best teams in Clan Wars right now. I'd certainly say they're in the top 3. So it was a good result there for the Aussies. They can do better next time, and I'm sure they'll look at this as a learning experience.
And I couldn't agree more. I feel like that definitely is the message you have to take away from this. Even with all the things we said, it was still a darn close match. And look, we've seen manhandlings from Koreans over non-Koreans in particular. This wasn't it. The Ace match was pretty one-sided, but the other games, they had their opportunities. So definitely a match that the Australians can do. They're like, "Aw, shucks, mate," and then they can go back about their business without feeling too bad about it because it was a good show.
Yeah, I certainly agree. All right, folks, that pretty much wraps us up for the day. Big thanks, of course, to In Control for co-casting today. Much appreciated.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. Always a pleasure.
All right, the next match that we have coming up for you is going to be on Monday, so that's in 2 days' time. We're going to have Prime taking on My Insanity. Now, we're hoping for Prime to put on a better performance than last time, of course, because Prime got manhandled in their first series, so hopefully they put a bit more prep in. Their manager, Gerard, will be playing on Engines of War. I am curious to see how that goes, I've got to say. Unfortunately for Prime, the big guns are coming out. Rain will be making his appearance, assuming it gets that far, for My Insanity, and we're going to have Saxry out as well. So My Insanity are not messing around.
No, and you shouldn't. These are great matches, great exposure. Big shout out to the audience as well. You guys are awesome. I was checking on that chat a few times. You're both hilarious and fun. And I'm really excited for these matches. Really big guns flying around, and on fun maps too, which is something you don't usually get to see them do, which is pretty cool.
All right, folks, we're about done. Thank you very much for watching the Clan Wars. If you happen to miss anything, well, you can check it out, youtube.com/TotalBiscuit with the spoiler-free VODs, and reruns will begin in approximately 5 minutes here on MLG.tv/SHOUTCraft. Do check out the schedule, which is also available on this website, and in the Team Liquid tournament thread. The next match, Monday, the 4th of May at 8 p.m. Eastern. Prime versus My Insanity on MLG.tv/SHOUTCraft. Thank you very much for watching, folks, and we'll see you next time. Good night.